Welcome to the Edge Pro Professional Model instructional video. In this video, we will demonstrate how to set up and use your Edge Pro system. Your Edge Pro Professional Model will include the stone arm, which holds the stones, the body, the vacuum base, and the pivot shaft and tension rod. We are now ready to begin assembly. First, using a wet towel, clean the mounting surface. Place the vacuum base on a smooth, non-porous, solid level countertop. Be sure that the vacuum base lever is on the right side. Lightly push down and secure the vacuum base and pull the lever from the forward to backward position. Next, you will insert the tension rod into the bottom of the hole of the body with the rubber cap facing down. Next, we will join the body and the vacuum base by inserting the body into the hole in the vacuum base. Tighten the base lock knob on the vacuum base to secure the body. Next, we will insert the pivot shaft into the back of the machine, next to the tension rod. Now we will insert the stone arm into the pivot on top of the pivot shaft. The stone arm comes with the 220 stone pre-installed and ready to use. Make sure that your stone arm is on the left side of your pivot shaft, allowing the stone to rest directly over the center of the blade table. You will notice the entire system adjusts forward and backward to allow for a comfortable work height. Next, you will adjust the tension rod by placing your hand around the body like so, and pushing your thumb down on the tension rod while pulling up on the body. This will remove any wobble or play in the system while sharpening. We recommend using blue painter's tape at the end of the blade table to help protect your blades and the blade table while sharpening. We are now ready to adjust our guide plate to our knife. We are using a common 8-inch kitchen knife. This is a great knife to learn and develop your sharpening skills. When resting your knife on the blade table, you will always be adjusting it to the narrowest part of the blade. In most cases, this will be the tip. Put the tip of the blade at one corner of the blade table and bring the knife guide up until the knife edge reaches the opposite corner of the blade table. To determine if you have the correct angle for sharpening, use a felt-tipped marker to mark the edge of your knife. Here you can see where we marked the edge of the blade. The Edge Pro Professional Model will sharpen from 6 to 33 degrees, but you will find that most knives will fall within the indicated marks from 13 to 25 degrees. Next, we will be setting the angle of the sharpening stone. To properly set the angle, line the bottom of the colored dot with the top of the body, like so. The red dot here represents 15 degrees. From left to right, make 2 to 3 light passes along the blade. The removed marker will indicate at what angle your stone is riding on the blade. You will know the angle is set properly when the marker is removed along the bevel up to the edge of the knife. To prep your stone for sharpening, first wet the stone using a wet towel and a small amount of water directly on the stone. Now we're ready to begin sharpening. Start at the heel of the blade, using slow forward and backward strokes with a light grip on both the knife and the knob at the end of the stone arm. When sharpening a flexible blade like such, keep your strokes within the width of the blade table. In order to establish the correct pressure on the stone while you learn to use the machine, start with no pressure on the stone. Gradually increase the pressure until you feel the stone start to cut. This is the perfect pressure. Try to maintain this pressure throughout the length of the stroke. Using too much force can prematurely wear your stones. When sharpening your knife, make sure to use an equal number of strokes on both sides of the blade to keep the edge centered on the knife. The exact number of strokes will vary depending on the length of the blade. Move the knife in small increments along the blade table during the pull stroke or in between strokes. Notice you do not lift the stone arm during sharpening. As you near the tip of the blade, you will turn the knife along the blade table so the edge of the knife remains in front of the blade table. Sharpen both sides of the blade evenly until you develop a consistent burr along the full length of the blade. Once you have developed a burr, it is unnecessary to continue sharpening with the 220 stone, and doing so will reduce the life of your knife. A burr is a raised edge or small pieces of material remaining attached to the knife after a modification process. The burr always occurs on the opposite side of the last sharpening pass. First, loosen the screw at the back of the carriage. Remove your 220 stone by pushing the stone forward. You will notice the carriage is spring-loaded. This keeps the stone secure. The next stone we will be using is the 400. To install your stone, first loosen the screw at the back of the carriage. Place the edge of the stone in the carriage and push the stone forward until it seats into the stone rest. Next, you will need to adjust the ramp at the end of the stone arm to maintain a flat surface. To do this, push the ramp back against the stone, then adjust the 2 screws closest to the stone. Use your finger to make sure the ramp and stone are flush. Next, tighten the screw at the back of the carriage to lock the ramp's position. Pinch the sides of the stone and carriage to ensure the stone is straight in the stone arm. Wet your stone and continue sharpening. Once you have begun using the 400 stone, you have started the finishing process. The finishing process will create a finer edge on the blade. A proper stroke should utilize the ramp at the end of the stone. This technique will allow the stone to wear evenly and last much longer. When holding the knife on the blade table, be aware not to use too much force. You only need a small amount of pressure to keep the back of the blade from lifting. During the finishing process, keep your number of strokes consistent, and with your finishing passes, use very light pressure. For your common kitchen knife, we recommend finishing with the 600 or 1000 stone depending on your preference. Here we are demonstrating the removal of the burr with each stone. It's only necessary to remove the burr with the stone you're going to use to finish. Do this with just the weight of the stone arm. After the edge starts to fade, you can use the ceramic hone to restore the edge of the knife. You can do this 10 to 15 times depending on your blade before you will need to sharpen the knife. Use very light pressure the first time using the ceramic. Each time you restore the edge, you can gradually increase the pressure. It is necessary to apply a greater angle than you use to sharpen. You only want the ceramic rod to touch the edge of the knife. 3 key safety features of the Edge Pro Professional model. First, you will notice the stop directly behind the handle of the stone arm. This will stop your hand from reaching the blade. Secondly, the carriage and pivot. This also prevents your hand or body from reaching the blade. To prevent accidentally falling onto the machine and causing injury, the blade is not secured to the machine. This makes use of the sharpening system much safer for active environments. To properly set up your Edge Pro Professional model when sharpening a curved blade, adjust your guide plate to the skinniest part of the blade. Notice this will require you to hold the blade at the appropriate angle while adjusting your guide plate. Smaller blades and pocket knives like such may have a flat area near the handle. This is sometimes referred to as the ricasso. When sharpening these types of blades, you can choose to rest it on the flat area or the face of the blade. The benefit of sharpening your blade while resting it on the flat area is that it will give you a true reading of the angle. However, some blades may not have a large enough flat area to properly hold the blade secure. In this case, rest the blade on its face. However, if you want a specific angle on the knife, rest on the flat and start a small bevel at the back of the knife at your desired angle. Mark the new bevel with a felt tip marker. Move to the face of the knife and reset your pivot to your new bevel. Your machine will appear to be set at a much higher angle than you are actually sharpening. If you are resharpening your knife, you can start with a 400 or 600 grit stone. This method is only to be used if you have already established a bevel with your Edge Pro machine. If you're having difficulty establishing an edge on your knife, it is likely that the bevel has become too wide. A wide bevel is less durable and difficult to sharpen. To re-establish a proper edge, you will need to create a second bevel. The second bevel will thin the blade, allowing you to achieve a proper edge with your primary bevel. To do this, first start by bringing the primary bevel to a burr, which on this blade is 21 degrees. Then, lower your sharpening angle 5 or 6 degrees for your second bevel. Install your 120 or 220 stone and begin thinning the blade. If you are sharpening a blade that does not flex, up to 6 inches long, center the knife on the blade table and sharpen the full length of the blade without moving the knife. Blades longer than 6 inches should not have more than 2 inches hanging over the blade table. Do this until your primary bevel is 1/64 of an inch wide. Raise your sharpening angle and finish sharpening on the primary bevel. Be extremely careful while cleaning off your blade. For using polish tapes, you will need to do 2 things. First, set out your polishing tape blanks. These are aluminum blanks that will be in place of the sharpening stone. Make sure your surface is clean and remove the backing of the polishing tape. Line up the polishing tape on the polishing tape blank and pull the tape tight. Line up the opposite end and lay the polishing tape into place. If you need to reset your polishing tape, simply lift it back up and reset it. Use a clean paper towel to make sure the polishing tape is properly stuck to the polishing tape blank. For the first few strokes when using the polishing tapes, you will use a pull stroke only. This will help remove the burr and keep from cutting the polishing tape. Polish the full length of the blade, and with your finishing passes, use light pressure. Clean your polish tape with a clean paper towel and soapy water. To avoid scratching your blade, we recommend using painter's tape. Tape one side of the blade, trying to match the edges the best you can. Cut the excess tape like so and repeat on the opposite side. For wider blades, you can use the same technique, but instead of covering the entire blade, you will only need to put one strip covering about an inch behind the edge of the blade. Most serrated blades require a very low sharpening angle using the Edge Pro technique. This may require you to adjust the tension rod, when working with small knives or at low angles, remove the guide clip. On some knives, you will need to put a shim under the guide plate so the stone arm will clear the brass lock nut. First, lay the stone flat on the blade and raise the pivot slightly. On a serrated blade, there are two different sides, a flat side and a serrated side. First, mark the flat side of the blade with a felt-tipped marker like so. When sharpening your serrated blade, make sure that the stone is removing the marker all the way to the back of the serration. You may need to adjust the pivot to achieve this. When sharpening a serrated blade, you are not trying to develop a burr. If you look straight down at the edge of the blade, you will see shiny spots at the tip of each serration. Sharpen until these shiny spots disappear, but before you develop a burr. These shiny spots are dull spots on the tip of the serrations that reflect light. If you do develop a burr at this low of a sharpening angle, the metal at the edge of the blade will be very weak. Make 1 or 2 passes and check the tips of the serrations. The finishing process for serrated blades utilizes the ceramic rod. On the serrated side, run the ceramic rod once or twice in between each serration. It is important that your ceramic rod matches the size of the serration to ensure proper sharpening. Using the stone leveling kit. The stone leveling kit is designed to remove any bumps or dips that may develop on your stones from sharpening. To use the stone leveling kit, first lay the glass down on a flat, hard surface. Next, take a teaspoon or so of the silicon carbide provided in the stone leveling kit and sprinkle it onto the glass. Add a small amount of water and place the stone face down onto the glass. Next, with even pressure, move the stone in a circular motion on the glass. When leveling your stones, make sure to go in ascending order to allow the silicon carbide to be broken down into a finer grit. The silicon carbide will level the stone and ensure you have the best possible surface for sharpening your blades. Thank you for watching the Edge Pro Professional Model instructional video. You can visit us on our website at www.edgeproinc.com.